Welcome to B2B Marketers on a Mission, a podcast for change makers where we question the conventional, debunk marketing myths, provide actionable tips, think differently, disrupt industries, and take your marketing to a new level. From improving your campaigns to making you a better marketer, these are the inspirational stories that will help us change the way we think and approach B2B marketing one conversation at a time. This podcast is brought to you by Untitled Consulting, helping you to stand out in the market and drive revenue to your B2B business. And now your host, Christian Klepp. Okay, welcome everyone to this episode of B2B Marketers on a Mission. This is the show where we help you to question the conventional, think differently, disrupt your industry, and take your marketing to new heights. This is your host, Christian Klepp, and today I am joined by someone on a mission to partner with global marketing teams looking to scale. So coming to us from Toronto, Canada, Mr. Dan Radu, welcome to the show.
Hi, Christian. Thanks for having me. I'm very glad to be here. I'm very excited about your work.
Likewise. So it's really great to have you on the show, Dan, and let's jump straight into it because, man, the topic we are going to talk about today, let me just say, if B2B companies are not thinking about this, they should, right?
Yes. Globalization is upon us, and with that it comes customer experience and
absolutely
enabled by technology.
Absolutely. So, let's get started. So, Dan, you're obviously an expert in the field of marketing technology, and through your company, you've helped a lot of B2B companies and firms to grow their business through a combination of, I'm going to say, strategy, execution, but also technology. But as you said, let's focus today on the topic of leveraging digital technology to improve the customer experience. And I'd like to start with two very top-level questions. One being, how can a company scale with good customer experience? And how can digital technology be an essential component of that scaling up?
Good question. Digital marketing technology is a key component of the customer experience that's being created. So you think about all the interactions that you have with a company, starting with the marketing you're exposed to, is how you interact with the marketing. Does it provide you the right information at the right time? And then if you are interested in buying, how does marketing then transform into the sale? Is that a smooth interaction? Are you still getting, it's an overlap, of course. Are you getting the right marketing message, even though you're interested, you're already a warm lead or in the sales process? Of B2B companies we work with have very long sales processes, so different strategies and techniques are required at every stage. So how can companies scale the good customer experience? Well, they can certainly accelerate the sales cycle by ensuring that the tools have the same data, that track the same interaction, that track the same interest, that product or service that you're trying to buy. There's also companies that are global, so they can scale globally by reproducing and adjusting the customer experience for different regions. And then, like I said before, most importantly, you have to know when and what marketing tactics are required for each stage of the sales. And then can you reproduce that for different product lines or business units as well?
Okay. No, thanks for sharing that. I did have a follow-up question for you, Dan, and let me see if I can try to simplify this, because I think this is a frustration that many, I'm going to say, it's both parts of the ecosystem, the customer and also the company. At what points do you think in the customer experience process, like you require human interaction, and at what points you can just simply rely maybe on technology to do that job? And it's really just in terms of just trying to make the process more efficient.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, the biggest trend that we've seen in the past 10, 15 years is that a lot of customers want to do a lot of research before they even approach a seller. So Think about both at home, in business to consumer, both in business to business cases. When you have, you do your research, you make your short list, and then you approach those buyers. A lot of B2B companies, for example, I know specifically that they choose to buy only, top rated quadrant or wave of companies. A lot of marketing can be automated in this to help with that research. So if you request a certain information to document read, can you get additional information that is relevant for you, that will move you down the cycle, that prompt you to buy? Or
Okay. No, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Moving on to the next question, which I am sure you will have no problem answering, right? The common mistakes and misconceptions that you've seen when it comes to leveraging digital technology to improve CX. Because I think in your field, you know that it's never really as smooth as you want it to be. So what are some of the things that you've seen? First part of the question. And the second part is like, what should be done to address these issues?
Well, there's a lot of things that we see. Most importantly, what's called tech debt. So maybe having too much technologies and you become a slave to your own tools and technology. In that case, technology becomes a drag on the business as opposed to enabling the business. So tools should exist just to provide some functionality to help live your life better or do a better business process. But if you are spend too much time managing tools or troubleshooting troubleshooting integrations, making decisions based on bad data, it's counterintuitive. It's not what it's not what you're trying to achieve. So it happens when marketing teams want to buy the next shiny object, or we are knowing, for example, how it fits into their market stack or what business process it supports. It's the most common situation that we see.
Okay. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because it's kind of a segue to another question I had, which probably also addresses this issue, no? Because you see a lot of companies becoming caught up, as you said, with increasing the pile in their tech stack or buying the latest software. But do you think that this problem can also be solved if the companies did research and formulate the right strategy before they start leveraging all this digital technology to improve CX?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. But then what does it take to do that strategy? Is there a committee dedicated in the organization to review those tools? Is there a team that will manage and execute that has time to test those tools before they use them for the rest of their business or rest of the tech stack? Let's say you introduce a new tool. Can you spend half a year testing it in vacuum for what it works before you even use it in your business? How possible is that? Executives, for example, will look more at the Gartner, the Forresters, for how certain vendors are categorized. They'll try to understand from there how does that improve how they can achieve better business outcomes based on that. And then the directors and the managers, or even people in charge of technology, they would look at maybe specific cases, or they'll take demos. They'll try to understand what's the right solution, which products they should buy to support their business. And all of this are very long sales cycles. And the customers must have a good experience in all this stages of the cycle. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it was also that last sentence, that last part that you said, which is so important, right? Because at the end of the day, how is all this technology, all this software, how's it going to impact the customer? Is it going to make their experience better or harder?
Yeah, exactly. And think about every time when you go to those websites, what is your experience with chatbots, for example? When you type to a chat, how useful did you find those chatbots? and when do you just want to speak to a real person?
Yes, absolutely. I lost count of how many times I was going nowhere with a chatbot, and then I said, please put me in touch with a customer service representative, right?
Yeah, and this is where I think that this is where AI is not really going to replace everything.
Right, absolutely. I mean, that one in itself is going to be another podcast episode, but
We'll talk about that next.
yeah. Staying on the topic of leveraging digital technology to improve CX, talk to us about a challenge that you've helped a client to solve in the past 12 months. Just one case.
We solved many challenges, but let's think. The market is very interesting now, and it's something different than what it was in the past 10, 15 years that I've seen. Is there's a lot of layoffs in tech, but then there's still the go-to-market strategy. It's still on the same timeline. It doesn't get delayed. So how are companies going to carry out their go-to-market strategy without resources by doing more with less? So we've seen a lot of companies hiring. We've seen a lot of companies laying off people. So it's very strange because it's very hard to understand what's going on in the market. So what we solve for our clients in that time is we want to be a digital marketing partner of record with global resources. So we work with our clients. So in this case, we can add resources. We can work in partnership with our clients to add resources to either accelerate projects or just be an extension of their team. So if they, and they might find this even cost effectively, quite scalable and cost effective in the way we do it. So the challenge that we are tackling is just this idea of not enough resources, not enough time, not enough people, too much tech to use. The race is running too fast.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like you hear that over and over again, right? That a lot of companies out there are facing this exact same challenge. They're probably at different stages of their cycle, but somehow these problems keep emerging, right?
Yeah. So every time we go to a client, or me and the team are always trying to understand, we sit down and we look, okay, is this too much technology and not enough people? Is this the go-to-market strategy is too high level? I mean, we need to bridge that gap to implementation, or what's the real value that we can add in our partnership with our clients?
Absolutely. Okay, Dan, I mean, you've mentioned some of these things already, but break it down for us. I call this the Lego approach. You take apart the blocks. Talk to us about the different components that you believe are required to effectively enhance CX with digital technology.
I think you have to think about all business functions part of CX, not only sales. So it's the marketing as an extension of sales that ties directly to sales, the support experience, the delivery and the support experience. I think all of those are important elements of the customer experience with the company. So in order to do that, you have to make sure that they all work together. All the functions are aligned. They have the same objectives, that they support the interests of the client. They're focused on revenue. So everything what you do when you adopt the technologies and use the technology, the stakeholders internally that have to work, the teams, the road mapping that you do, the planning, everything what goes into that has to take this into account on the touch points of the customer experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You brought up something earlier in your answer, and I want to go back to it, and I want to ask you a follow-up question, because I'm going to say 98% sure that you've encountered this. You're talking about alignment of teams. So what happens if they're not aligned, which I think is also a common issue? How do you get them aligned?
Yeah, like sales and marketing alignment, it's a big topic.
Yeah.
That's another podcast in itself.
Yeah.
Well, like in many companies, and I'm
Mhm.
surprised every time when we work with a new company, when I see this happening, like
Yeah.
there's no proper feedback loop between marketing and sales. Sales and marketing might have even the wrong idea of what the ideal customer profile is, or different things happen, like there's different campaigns the sales wants to do, the marketing just doesn't support. Marketing has a email marketing tool to send emails, and the sales, they get their own tools to send emails, and it becomes very difficult to manage the message, the audience, the subscription preferences. If I want to be unsubscribed here, am I really unsubscribed there? Those things are unaligned. Maybe the sales goals are not clearly communicated to marketing. So sales organizations, whether they focus on selling certain products or groups or services, or they want to focus on certain regions, you want to make sure that you align the same focus and the same resources in marketing to support that. Is there a revenue goal that has to be jointly worked towards that? Is there a good feedback loop between the marketing and the sales organization? There are constant meetings, or the review of leads? Can marketing plan the campaigns that are required to support those sales goals, those revenue goals?
See, I knew you'd be able to answer that question. No problem at all. No, fantastic. Absolutely. I think there were a couple of things that you said that were so spot on. So first of all, there needs to be a feedback loop, and it needs to be one that helps the teams to be aligned. Another one I think that you said, which is also really spot on, is planning the campaigns also based on the feedback, based on these conversations with the salespeople, because these are conversations most likely they're also having with the customers. So it all should try to work together like a well-oiled machine, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, a big part of this show is talking about actionable tips. So give us something actionable here, Dan, and let's appreciate that not everything that you do in your line of work can be done in one day, right? But what do you hope B2B marketers who are listening to this conversation that you and I are having, what are you hoping they can do right now to successfully improve CX with digital technology?
Make sure you understand what business function and what experience outcome do you want to have at every stage, and then which tool or technology will support that experience. I think mapping that out is very important. You cannot underestimate how much how important and how much time the mapping exercise it will take. Is for every single experience, every single that you want to create your customers, like what is the function that will create that experience? How does it all come together? What is the streamlined approach there that you can manage?
Absolutely. And that's a nice segue into the next question, because love it or hate it, you need to have some kind of indication of progress that things are working. So what metrics do you think B2B marketers should be paying attention to, and why?
Well, usually the biggest metrics the main metrics is revenue, right? But then you want to dig a bit deeper than that. You want to break that down a bit. So when I help my clients, I say, okay, you can look at efficiency in the organization as well, throughput. What is the organization? What can you actually get out of this? You can look at how successful the programs were. How do you measure success? What do you benchmark it against? Those things are very important. Is measuring marketing qualified or sales qualified leads, is that a real measurement? Does that metric work for you? Or is this is something more than that, or maybe you're interested more in the acceleration of the pipeline as opposed to just the number of MQLs generated.
Absolutely. What is the status quo in your area of expertise that you passionately disagree with, and why? And somehow I have a feeling you have a few.
The status quo that we always encounter is this idea of different goals between sales and marketing. Like I rarely see organizations that have a true revenue operations function and process where they are able to align the marketing goals with a sales goal. It's just, there's different leaderships, there's different budgets, there's different teams that have to do this, and it's simply it just becomes acceptable that different teams with different goals, as opposed to thinking of themselves as one unified goal. So unfortunately, that's the status quo.
And the way, obviously, that you address that is going back to what you were saying earlier, right? It's getting these two teams, these two groups to talk to each other, keeping the communication line open, having these feedback loops, right?
Yes, the alignment exercises.
Right. Correct. Absolutely. Dan, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time. So, quick intro to yourself and how people can get in touch with you. And I know that you're based in Toronto and you run a global marketing firm, and you're originally from Romania. So you forgive me, my Romanian is a bit rusty, but I know how to say bun venit and mulțumesc.
Oh, yeah, I get that. That's awesome. Yeah, so awesome. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Christian. Yeah, Macro, it's a global marketing agency with global B2B marketing clients that come to us when they need specific expertise in Adobe, Marketo, HubSpot, Salesforce, and we work as a natural extension of their team.
Fantastic. Once again, Dan, thank you so much for your time. Take care, stay safe, and talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much.